Hello, and welcome to today's virtual break room. This is a new series we have launched in order to bring community and city leaders to you to talk about the city's local response to the coronavirus pandemic and really take your questions. I want to just note, my name's Lauren Sagayan. I make up the communications team along with my fellow moderator, Emma Tozer. We will be moderating today's event. Our special guest today is Mayor Carol Dutra-Vernaci. Hello, Mayor.
Hi, Lauren. How you doing?
Great. Thank you for joining us. And I want to make a brief note. The mayor's going to give us an introduction of herself and some of the work she's been doing with the pandemic. But then we'll switch to question and answer. If you do want to participate by asking the mayor a question today, there is a feature on the side of your screen. It's called moderator chat. It's a feature that's right above, let's see, the question and answer. So it would be the moderator chat. You just click that feature and you can send in your questions, and we'll have a live Q&A session shortly here. Mayor, let's start with you. For most people know you, but for those who do not know you, can you give us an introduction of yourself?
I'd be happy to, Lauren. And before I get into that, I want to thank you and Emma for making the extra effort to start with this next phase in communications with the community. I think it's very important. That being said, for those that don't know me, I am a lifelong Union City resident, third generation for that matter. My grandparents first came here in just before 1918. That being said, I am a graduate of James Logan High School, and about 35 years ago, I started really paying attention to what was going on in town. So 32 years ago, I was first appointed to the Redevelopment Advisory Committee, then the Planning Commission. Then back in 97, I ran for city council and was elected and spent 13 years on the council, then turned out and then was elected mayor 8 years ago. So in the meantime, while I was doing all of that, I am a small business owner in business and have been involved in just about every nonprofit organization in town as well as in the area. Communication is very important to me, and as such, as soon as this pandemic hit, it became gather as much information as possible, not just locally, but countywide, region-wide, and nationally. As a member of the U.S. Mayor's Conference, I participate weekly on phone calls through Bloomberg Philanthropies with other mayors throughout the country, as well as leading professionals in the medical field and whatever other entities we want to hear from on a weekly basis. We get updates on what's going nationwide with the virus medically, and we had a session today, as a matter of fact, leading in crisis. What do we do? What are the next steps for getting out of this and getting into recovery? And on a local level, I am on the phone twice a week with the Alameda County Department of Health, getting the latest information from them, because everything is driven around data for all the decisions we're making. And we don't have a lot of data in this area because it is new. That's why the communication and sharing is just so very, very important. And I appreciate the opportunity to field questions today so that we can communicate and educate the community in whatever areas they want to know, because transparency is of utmost importance as well. We are not hiding anything. We share what we know.
Thanks, Mayor. And how can residents reach out to you if they want to share concerns or ask questions?
Well, I'm available by any method you might want to employ, such as social media. There, I am on Twitter, I am on Facebook. Calling my number at City Hall, even though I'm not there physically, does roll over to my city cell phone, and that number for people that would like it is area code 510-675-5325. And my email address is ucmayor@unioncity.org. So that's just the initials ucmayor@unioncity.org. I tried to keep that as simple as possible when I was choosing an email. So yes, I'm always I must say sometimes it does take me a little bit of time to get back to you, but I will always get back to you. And if I don't have the answer for what you're looking for, I will refer you to somebody that can try and get us an answer.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor. And for those just joining, I want to remind you, we encourage you to ask the mayor questions during this live session. You can do that by going to the moderator chat on the side of your screen and sending in your questions to us. Mayor, we sent out information on social media yesterday letting people know that you would be live with us today, and we encourage people to send in their questions. So before we go to live questions, I want to be able to ask you some questions that came into us via email from residents.
Okay.
The first one from Kendall, there's a couple actually. Where does Union City stand in the stay-at-home order?
Union City's stance in the stay-at-home order is we take our directions from the Department of Public Health, which is the county agency. Governor Newsom and the state are issuing their orders. However, as a city in Alameda County, the Alameda County orders do supersede the state's orders. And so Union City is following those and, as I say, communicating at least twice a week with the Alameda County Department of Health.
Great. And what about city services? When will they begin to become available again? And where is Public Works on parks and street projects?
Okay, that's a great question, important for folks. Union City City Hall partially reopened this last Monday on the 11th. It's by appointment only, and the three areas that are open, or the departments, are finance, planning, and building. So again, it is on an appointment basis, and that's just as of the 11th. Public Works is now in its second week of operations. So we do know that there were plenty of calls with people complaining about issues around town with various issues that they are concerned about. So again, they're just back in their second week. And I might add, it's not just a matter of coming back, it's a matter of coming back safely. So the city employees were very concerned about making sure that they were going to be able to operate and remain safe, as well as our residents of Union City. So anybody that is operating within the guidelines of the proper masking, hand washing, sanitization. Social distancing is very, very important. All of those protocols are in place. So if you were to come to City Hall, be prepared to be rigorously put through the paces to make sure everybody's kept safe.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Kendall, for your question. Janice wrote into us. She asked that recently she visited Quarry Lakes Parkway for some exercise, and that it wasn't very clear what the restrictions are at parks. She wanted to ask you, what are the restrictions during the shelter in place at parks?
Janice, the timing of this question couldn't be better. Last night, one of my monthly meetings is the Alameda County Mayor's Conference, and our speaker was Ellen Corbett, East Bay Regional Parks Director. And knowing that Quarry Lakes is right next to Union City, I was actually asking Ellen about Quarry Lakes. So what she told me, first of all, was that you don't have to pay for parking. They're letting people come in and park for free. And I was thinking more about the fishing that does go on there. And she did get back to me to let me know that fishing is only allowed from the shores with a proper social distancing. People are not allowed to be using boats. So that being said, they do certainly follow the guidelines of the social distancing. Families can be together, but if you're not part of that group, you do need to make sure that you keep your distance. So I'm hoping that's the kind of information you were asking for.
You know, Mayor, as a follow-up question to that, while we're on the topic of masks, can you talk a little bit about when they're required to be worn? Because oftentimes we go out of our homes and we see, people wearing masks and then not wearing masks. Can you clarify just in general when it's appropriate to wear a mask per the order?
Okay, well, first of all, what I would say, order or not, when in doubt, use a mask, because our goal is to keep people safe. That being said, what has been recommended is that when it's not even recommended, it's part of the order that when you go to the grocery store, for example, masks must be worn not only by you as the consumer, but by the employees that are working there. When you're outside, and certainly being outside is encouraged because mental health and physical health is very important to help get us to the end of this. So when you're outside, if you're walking and by yourself, you really don't need a mask. And if you're exercising, what they're saying specifically, heavily exerting yourself, as long as there's social distancing, you don't need a mask. And also very important to note that children under 12 are not required to have a mask, but they do need to be supervised to make sure that they're following the other protocols to remain safe. And they say never, ever, ever put a mask on a child that's 2 or less.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Janice also asked, what are the current statistics for coronavirus in Union City and in Union City versus Fremont? Can you talk a little bit about the statistics?
Okay, well, what I can say is, first of all, not just now, but every day, you can certainly go to the Union City website, which is unioncity.org/coronavirus. And that will direct you to the county dashboard. This is updated on a daily basis and talks about all of Alameda. It does identify by city, and they also now have it set up for different parameters as well if you're interested in it. But back to your question, in Union City to date, there have been 87 cases identified. We don't have any particulars in terms of the details on who those 87 people were. We don't know ages, gender, race, anything like that. Now, in Fremont, because they are a larger city than Union City, they certainly have had more cases than. And I might add, since we are talking about this, just took a quick look down in my notes from our information that we do know, is that it is showing by age county-wide that it looks like the age range of 18 to 30 years old, there is a larger number of cases. And because that is a concern, the county health department did reach out to one of our Union City entities, Union City Family Center, and engage them in a conversation about how they might be able to engage those in that 18 to 30-year-old range and do the outreach so that they can better protect themselves to prevent the spread.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. And lastly, from, let's see here. Lastly, from Janice, what are we trending in the right direction? What's your sense on that from the conversations you're having?
That's an excellent question, and I think it's important to note that Monday morning's call with the health department, the hospitals participate in that call as well, and the hospitals in our area that are participating are Washington Hospital, Kaiser, St. Rose, Eden Hospital, and Castro Valley. So all of the hospitals said they are starting to see an uptick in cases. So that's an indicator, because certainly part of all of this is keeping the number of cases low enough so that hospitals can handle it. So again, that's another indicator that people do need to continue to take this seriously and use the proper preventative measures to keep this from spreading.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple more questions that came into us overnight, and then we're going to transition to live questions. Okay. I want to remind those who are just joining us that if you do have a question for the mayor, go ahead and send that in to us on our moderator chat, which is a feature that's just to the sidebar of your screen. Mayor, Anna asked, what is taking, and I think you answered this a little bit earlier, what is taking Alameda County so long to move to the next phase?
Well, the simple truth is, I know it's hard on everybody, and we are all wanting this to be over, but the reality is the public health officials are looking at the data and they're making their decisions based on that data, and slow is better. And what I mean by that is if we're opening it up in phases very slowly, it gives us a chance to react, because everybody needs to remember nobody that's on this earth right now has ever been through this worldwide pandemic to this extent. So anything that's being suggested to be opened does need a reevaluation. And if they determine it's not working, they need to pivot to either a model that works better or shut it down and rethink it before that particular entity is reopened.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. One last question, and I just want to recognize here that we do have city employees who are engaged with us in this conversation, and we're happy to be able to kind of share in not only just communicating to the public with our new virtual break room, but also to employees who are interested in hearing from you. One employee wrote in and asked how the city plans to mitigate the economic fallout of COVID-19 in our city.
Well, first of all, since it is a city employee asking the question, I want to thank not just that employee, but all of the city employees who have hung in there with us and are helping all of the residents in town to get through this. We thank you for your service. Now, as far as the financial mitigation, we don't have an answer yet. We are working through that, and it's not just Union City, it is nationwide. Every city is being hurt financially from this. One of the things we're looking for, as a matter of fact, is this Friday, we're hoping that at the federal level, there will be the next monetary package coming out, which is called the HEROES package. I actually have, through the U.S. Mayor's Conference, they did send out to every city what's expected. If the HEROES Act passes, it's money that will funnel down to the cities. And what it says is these funds would be able to be used to respond to, mitigate, cover costs, or replace foregone revenues not projected on January 31st, 2020, stemming from the virus. And Union City's share, if this package passes, I had to look at the numbers twice because this was exciting if this became reality. For 2020, Union City would get $26,224,124, and for 2021, Union City would get $13,112,062. So we can only hope for that. We know that in Washington, D.C., even it gets through the House, getting it through the Senate and having it look like this could be something entirely different. But that being said, we are having ongoing conversations. The City Council as an entity hasn't delved deeply into it yet because we're still learning. Even the state last week said the projected deficit was 50 million and they just revised it to 34 million. So the numbers change on a daily basis. So hang in there with us for the employees. Its suggestions are going to be very, very important for helping us in cost-cutting measures because the city was already operating at a structural deficit, and this is going to make our financial picture even more of a challenge.
Great. Thanks, Mayor. So that concludes some of the questions that came into us via email. I want to transition now to our live question and answer. I'm going to turn it over to Emma Tozer, our other communications moderator, who's going to be asking you some questions live from the public. Emma, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. So we have one question that came in through the chat from Ava. I haven't been able to work due to the pandemic and I'm worried about paying rent. Is there any assistance available for me?
Emma, first of all, I am so sorry that you're not able to work. However, in terms of rent, Union City does have an eviction moratorium that speaks to rent So I would suggest, I'm assuming that's up on the city website, so I don't have that ordinance memorized. So if you would go to the city website to get the details, and hopefully that will give you a little bit of comfort in knowing that we do understand that folks can't pay rent right now, and we've taken some action to protect you. Alameda County does have, and let me take a look at my notes because I believe that was something we did talk about at our mayor's conference meeting last night. No, I am sorry, I do not have that information there. Something in my mind, and I'm going to have to get details and maybe get it back to staff if you want to give them your contact information in the chat. But it seems to me that at the county level, they were talking about doing something to help renters that need some financial assistance. So I have to go back through my notes and see if I can remember where that is. There's just so much information coming in with all sources of potential help that we're trying to create that it's a matter of remembering where to go look for the information. But also, while you are suffering financially, I'm hoping that you have received or will be receiving the economic impact payments, better known as a stimulus payment from the Internal Revenue Service, and also unemployment benefits. Hopefully you have applied for your unemployment benefits and are receiving those or will shortly, because it is my understanding that those benefits were increased as well because of the virus.
Yes, and Mayor, I would just like to add that at unioncity.org/coronavirus, we have access to information on the eviction moratorium, on unemployment benefits, and really all other resources. So please make sure anybody who's watching to go to that webpage in order to get a lot of the information that the mayor speaks of.
And I might add one further point that was mentioned at the mayor's conference meeting last night is Alameda County itself was working on an eviction moratorium. And what we were told is that the Board of Supervisors a couple of days ago did not yet pass it because one of the supervisors had some questions. So it is on the June 2nd Board of Supervisors agenda to take up and pass their version of the protection for the renters in Alameda County.
Great, thanks. Emma, do we have any other live questions?
Yes, we have one more. Is testing expanding to Union City? And if so, why not?
Okay, as far as testing goes, that is a conversation that happens on a weekly basis with the Alameda County Department of Health. It's a challenge for a few reasons, and we are trying to get clarification because it was said that more testing sites are going to be opening, and Tiburcio Vasquez in Union City, we still don't have confirmation if it will be the Hayward or the Union City site for Tiburcio. What I would tell you, though, is as far as sites goes, and I'm looking at my meeting from this Monday morning, what we were told, because the reality with testing right now is that you have to be symptomatic. You can't just walk up and say, I'd like a test, please. We are trying to get to that because we do know that testing is helping us keep track of versus spreading, and then help with one of the next phases, which is going to be contact tracing. The testing is all very important for us. And I do know, and I think I already posted it on the city site, that about the new testing locations that have opened up in Ashland, Cherryland, and I'm trying to remember the other location right now. And I'm flipping through my notes and I don't see it, so I'll skip it. But again, if you were to go to the sites, the testing locations that are currently operating, you should be able to get. Certainly, we want as many test sites as possible to make it as convenient for everybody so that you don't have to go very far from home to get tested. So the county is aware of that, and we're trying to get those up as we can and as the tests become available.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Mayor. And Emma, did we have any other live questions, or does that conclude?
Concludes, that's it.
Awesome. I just want to make a note to those watching that our city manager, Joan Malloy, was watching our live session today, and she did write into me saying that Union City has a stay housed program, and we anticipate rental assistance on the horizon in Union City being needed, so that we can receive any contact information if you are dealing with any issues related to this. We'd be happy to share information with you directly. Write into or email into marcom@unioncity.org. That's MARCOM, marcom@unioncity.org, and we'll make sure to connect you with resources. So Mayor, I will give it to you for your parting words. What is your final message to the community before we end our virtual break with you?
While you were speaking, Lauren, I did find my notes from Monday morning. And in addition to what the city has on their website for testing, on Monday morning, we were giving what in essence is a national website for finding testing locations, but it is specific. It will drill down to zip codes for the nearest one. And that website is lhi.care/COVID testing. So again, it's by zip code, and it is very helpful. I did go online and take a look myself just to get an idea of what was on it. Now, that being said, for parting words, we know that this is difficult, and we know that we are going to get through this. So as mayor, my job is to do what I can to keep people positive and talking to each other, to encourage. If you're feeling depressed, mental health is very, very important. Pick up the phone, talk to a friend, talk to a relative, talk to a neighbor, get out and get exercise. We are going to get through this. This is something that is unprecedented. And what I will tell you is we do not have all the answers. That is the reality. However, we are willing to work very, very hard. And if we try something and it doesn't work, we're not going to stop. We're going to figure out why it didn't work, and we will reinvent whatever it was we were trying to do and then try it again, because we are going to get through this. It's not going to be easy, but please, when you have concerns about the city, notify myself, notify city staff. We are working together for the benefit of the community. And I do appreciate the opportunity to have spoken to all of you today.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. And we will be announcing shortly here, probably in the next few days or early next week, we'll be announcing next week's featured guest. So thank you to those for joining us. We hope you liked our virtual break room, and we look forward to having you join again. Thank you.
And for everybody that was there this morning, you are our inaugural class helping us learn the system. So I'm sure Lauren and Emma picked up a few skills along the way as well.